I can just share my screen. Just bear with me 2 seconds. All right, can you all see my screen?
We can't.
Excellent. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Hart. I'm the head of material sales here at Replenysh. And really what our company's committed to really building the tools to keep kind of every pound of material that's generated in our communities from ending up in the landfill. And so, we work with large consumer product goods brands, so we work with Pepsi, we work with Coca-Cola, we work with Walmart, kind of flip traditional material recovery on its head. We start by securing partners who want to purchase your materials before we go out and design kind of systems of collection, really trying to address problems of, once a community has collected their material, where are they selling it? Where is it going? We really work to provide not only kind of the support for a collection system, but also the data to showcase where that material is going. So we have kind of an online portal for counties and cities to sign into to see where they're in real time, where their material is sold and going. But then also our technology can provide kind of access to your community to see that as well. So yeah, we can kind of use our tech to highlight and kind of build trust in collection systems. Because really, when we talk about circularity, we define circularity as material collection with transparency of destination. So, it's not just enough to tell folks in your communities, hey, we're going to work into recycle, but if we're asking people to kind of separate or bring material and drop it off, we need to provide that information to build trust that the material actually is staying out of the landfill. So, when we look at kind of how we help communities set up what we call circularity centers or kind of recycling drop-off centers, we start by thinking about the value of the material that's currently in communities. So, 50% of Americans live in a small town, kind of defined as a population of 50,000 people or smaller. Again, that average size town generates about $1 million a year of value in recycled commodities. So, the question is, how do we then collect that material, and how do we keep kind of the most of the revenue of that material within our local communities? So, this is of around 800,000 pounds of PET a year, 320,000 pounds of aluminum cans, over 7 million pounds of cardboard, and about 500,000 pounds of HDPE or plastic number 2, which is the plastic in kind of milk jugs or kind of detergent or shampoo bottles. Really, and kind of we have looked to address kind of costs and reduce costs for communities in a number of ways. And the first being all the material that we kind of set up is collected, source separated, so it doesn't require sorting. So community members can come, bring their material to the Circularity Center, where they'll drop off material source separated, which allows us to be able to track that material and then not have to pay to have that material sorted. We kind of see brands are really good at getting their products out into the world. You can buy a Pepsi or a Coke at almost any retail store across the country. But when it comes to getting that material back or keeping it out of the landfill, that challenge is placed at the feet of our communities and cities without any support. It's just, it's your problem, figure it out. Either it goes to landfill, and that comes with costs, or you might currently be carting that material to your closest MRF, which could incur hundreds of thousands of dollars in hauling fees of hauling air, and then also kind of the associated processing fees there. And most of the communities that we work with, kind of these smaller towns, are looking for an option to get started for their recycling program, but perhaps don't have the revenue or kind of grant funding to build their own MRF. So kind of the best way to get started is, we see really setting up these circularity centers to collect material in a new way. And the key thing here is it's not a big lift. We always look to kind of optimize current infrastructure to provide access and get you started. So we're looking to partner with cities who can provide the land and the labor to operate a circularity center, and Replenysh provides kind of the technology to sell that material, training and education, and the kind of ongoing support to ensure that your circularity center is successful. We're not here just to provide equipment and kind of leave you on your own. So kind of, again, great places for circularity centers are kind of transfer stations, or, if you already have an existing program, we can kind of help to optimize that by maybe expanding the material types that you collect, or kind of also even partnering with local nonprofits that might already be doing this work in your community. Kind of the biggest hurdle when kind of designing a new recycling system is kind of providing access to the public, and partnering with cities who are kind of working to kind of open these drop-off locations. That's really the biggest barrier, is giving your community a place to take their materials back. And we can help with that system design and also kind of all the education and outreach associated with that program. For those of you that might already have a collection program in place, where if you're collecting material mixed in a roll-off, you're then in some cases paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to transport that to a MRF, which I know kind of, given some of the geographies in Colorado, that could be quite a distance if you're carting that from the mountains down to Denver, or if you're on the western slope, the material might be going to Salt Lake City, or kind of a private MRF as well. So then kind of the challenge there is, once your material gets there, you're also paying kind of on average $200 a ton for that material to be sorted. And the challenge that we see with kind of this system of collection is really this recycling system was kind of designed on the heels of the waste industry, right? So if you build a central facility and then you kind of charge residents or communities for kind of a system of collection, you're really limited by kind of someone's willing to pay and your proximity to a MRF. So we work to design a solution that works outside of the MRF, where material is collected, source separated, where we can prioritize the value of the material to help keep more of that revenue locally, and not kind of eaten up by an inefficient system. So even for communities that have a baler and might be baling that material, typically material that is or recycled material is kind of bought and sold 2 times before it makes it to a mill. So that's already kind of eating up about 20 to 30% of material value just in kind of the cost of doing business. So by connecting your community direct with material buyers, we're able to kind of maximize a lot of that revenue and help to turn a community recycling program from a cost center to one that generates revenue, and kind of bring circularity to communities that are kind of looking for a better way to manage their materials. And so, yeah, again, we kind of do that by looking to create circularity, right? And kind of, I know I mentioned at the beginning, but we define circularity as material collection plus transparency of destination. And we can support communities by helping to provide infrastructure, so balers, kind of a iPad and POS system to collect material, scale, floor scales, if you need a loading ramp, and things like that. Again, we're all layered on top of our built-in marketplace, where our technology connects you direct to buyers. You can see kind of the value in your materials real time, which is kind of layered upon our, which is kind of a unique thing to Replenysh, is our ability to establish kind of long-term material purchase agreements for your materials, so that there's less risk in the kind of swing in commodity pricing. Really addressing kind of one of that challenge of, once I've collected this material, where do I sell it, and how much is this material worth? For some communities that we work with, if you're not generating a full truckload of material a month, the risk that you face is, if you need to sell your material, for example, in November, but commodity prices have dropped, you're kind of at the whim of the market, and then we'll realize less revenue for your material. But kind of through these material purchase agreements, we can help project kind of the kind of revenue that you expect to collect based off of your population size, to bring some kind of stability and kind of better business planning for your recycling operation. We also designed the systems. Again, I kind of mentioned source separated collection. So educating the public to come drop off materials into specific bins, where we kind of leverage the public to sort that material, rather than having to pay for it to be sorted. We see that this kind of engages the community a little bit more by having them understand kind of why they're sorting. They can then see where this material is going. That helps reduce contamination rates, and then also going to build trust in the community. So kind of seeing where your materials are going, and knowing that your material is actually staying out of landfill, we see as key, given that most of the time the public reads about recycling or sustainability in general. Unfortunately, it's typically something negative. A town stopped collecting glass, or had to stop collecting plastic, or worst case scenario, if a program had to close. That's the typical news cycle that we hear around recycling programs and sustainability, and we're kind of working to combat that through trust and transparency. Our company got started kind of over a decade ago to kind of answer this question of kind of stopping the flow of materials to landfill. And it was about 3 years ago that we started working with cities and counties to help them with their collection programs. And one of our first partners was the city of Bartlesville in Oklahoma, who was collecting material mixed in roll-offs and kind of paying to have it hauled 70 miles to Tulsa, which is where the nearest MRF was. They were paying kind of around $150,000, $160,000 a year to to truck their materials down there, and then they were paying sorting fees on top of that. Currently, kind of through our partnership, they're collecting over 300,000 pounds of material annually, out of a population size of about 35,000 people. It's collecting about 40,000 pounds of PET, and kind of just under 29,000 pounds of aluminum cans. So, through our partnership, we've been able to kind of bring a little bit more understanding to the community of where their materials are going, and have seen kind of a lot of success in participation rates as well. So, we're here to help. We want to connect with cities, counties that are, maybe facing some of these challenges, and kind of want to understand how they might, if you already have a program, how you might kind of collect additional material types. So, for example, if you have a drop-off center, but you haven't been able to successfully add plastic, we can help there. We can also help with site design from the beginning of the project, setup, install, education, training. And I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the materials that we work with. So we work with kind of the common material types in your household stream, your PET or your plastic #1 bottles, HDPE or your plastic #2 bottles, aluminum cans, steel cans, cardboard. We can provide a solution for PET thermoforms as well. So your clamshells or your berry baskets, your kind of flexible LDPE film. And then we're really excited. We've kind of been working to kind of bring on battery collection and textiles that are kind of becoming online in 2024. So kind of our vision of kind of what a circularity center is a location that's material agnostic, that we're really building the foundation for recovering material that can then also handle kind of reuse. So we're really excited, and we'd love to talk to communities that might be interested. So please kind of email me or if you put your contact information in the chat, I can make sure to follow up. Kind of once we begin that conversation, we can do everything from providing a formal scope of work and proposal, and kind of personalize that project timeline, and do a material value analysis for you as well. Kind of to recap before I open up to questions, just going to share kind of a simple renderings of what kind of a circularity center could look like. I think that the first thing to note is this is clearly kind of drawn in a location whose climate is not Colorado. So they kind of building in the back here, the kind of main differences for Colorado communities, we would kind of recommend a kind of closed facility to protect you from the elements a little bit better. But really just to get kind of the kind of spirit or the feeling of the location, right? You have your areas where the public can come in easily, drop off their material, gets carted by city staff to the back to get baled, and then kind of our team coordinates that kind of collection of and purchase of baled material. Here's just a kind of a closer look as well. Obviously this can all be tailored, kind of space dependent. We have kind of minimum space requirements, but for smaller communities, you could only have kind of 1 drop-off lane as opposed to 3. But again, we'll kind of work with you through the site design process. So yeah, that's the kind of the end of our short presentation. We kind of view this as a partnership and kind of working together with your community, and would love to kind of speak to those communities that are interested to kind of dive a little bit deeper and see how we can help. So thank you for the time today. And if there are any questions, I'd happy to answer them now. But I'd like to thank Liz and the folks at Recycle Colorado for setting this up today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Yeah, what's your question, BT?
Yeah, that's great. That's cool stuff. So I as we are kind of envisioning what we're going to be doing here, if I keep kind of going back to this idea last week or whenever that was when we were in Vail of a kind of a waste shed. I've been thinking a lot about that. So if we were to go ahead and get this MRF built and have that there, what would it seems like there might be some partnership opportunities with you guys to work with surrounding communities, surrounding counties to get their maybe unsorted materials brought over. So it'd be more of kind of like a circularity center light, maybe.
Yeah, I think in your case is kind of unique given the kind of funding you have and the goal of setting up a MRF. And I think the biggest opportunity there is we could help set up material purchase agreements for that material, and that would help you kind of better project the revenue for the material, so you could gauge kind of how far out it makes sense to collect material from surrounding communities, and ensure that that process is profitable for your project. So, and then we could also probably help, just kind of off the top of my head, with kind of tracking of volumes and things like that. So, yeah, I think that's one way that we could possibly work together.
And it also kind of, as I think about this, there, potentially there is an opportunity to do more of this kind of consumer sorted material collection. And then if we're bringing that sort of, that well sorted material into our facility, maybe we could start to, just think about something slightly different than a traditional MRF. And I don't know if you've worked with anybody that has done something like that, but.
Yes, so we partner with a number of kind of existing recycling centers, bringing them source separated material. I think from a MRF standpoint, right, your kind of system will be designed to set up kind of what the kind of characteristic mix is, because to like optimize that run. So if you have kind of different, and I know some of the kind of more advanced sorting or kind of AI driven sorting techniques kind of help with that. So you'll just kind of want to kind of, if you're changing the material stream too much. So for example, if you had single stream kind of in some counties and then some really clean streams, you could, your options are run it through your line or just kind of process it direct through your baler. So, you could also kind of still set up a single stream MRF and accept some of this source separated material as well.
Cool. Beth, did you have any?
Nothing particularly. I mean, I definitely would like to pursue conversations. I mean, again, we are truly at the sort of conceptual and feasibility stage, and undoubtedly this will involve partners who have that sort of specialized knowledge and those operational networks set up. So Ryan, I'd like to maybe offline just talk more about some of your service models, because it sounds, as if I'm understanding it correctly, that this is very customized to the community, so it could look a whole host of different ways for us.
Yeah, there are a number of different options. So yeah, I'd love to just kind of schedule time again whenever you all are ready, to kind of talk about how kind of the best way that we could help.
Are you guys still based in Oklahoma, or where's your headquarters now?
So our headquarters are in Southern California. So our team is going to spread out across kind of LA and Orange County. I'm the lone person down in San Diego, but most of the work that we've done to date has really been in communities that kind of traditionally don't have access to recycling. So that's one of the reasons why we got started in kind of Oklahoma and the Midwest. Our kind of collection rates there are kind of 8 to 9% statewide. So we kind of really looked kind of when we were starting out to see where's the kind of biggest impact we could make, and now I've kind of grown out from there. But we can kind of we work all across the county. I was speaking to kind of cities and towns in New York earlier this week, down in New Mexico, across to Florida. So we're happy to help wherever we can.
And then, being California based, have you worked within their EPR framework, or are you sort of scaling up in anticipation of that, or is there any intersectionality there that might help inform your applications in Colorado?
Yeah, so we're kind of fully licensed to kind of work within California's both CRV kind of deposit bill setup, and then also now that their kind of EPR legislation is coming online, one of the things that our technology can do is really track the amount of material that's collected. I know kind of each state's EPR rules are a little bit different, but that's where we can see that technology can be coordinated to provide that reporting that's needed. So yeah, I think there's kind of a big opportunity, and I think it's really exciting the work that's happening in Colorado specifically to kind of get these laws passed and create the environment where more material is recovered.
Thanks. Yeah, we're definitely trying to kind of future-proof any of the design decisions that we're making right now in anticipation of working within that environment. So
yeah.
Well, thanks.
And Ryan, I had a couple of questions. It strikes me that as MRFs, as Chaffee County is developing a MRF and other MRFs across Colorado, there are frequently times where they do not want certain materials. And what immediately comes to mind are things like buried containers and glass. And I'm wondering if there is room to develop a program that separates buried containers and glass and perhaps something else that are reasonably anticipated to be undesirable at the MRF.
Sure.
And so could be set up to be a revenue stream and captured in advance of the MRF being built. Does that make any sense? Along the lines of that future-proof question that Beth asked.
That makes lots of sense. And, for a lot of communities who are setting up a MRF, kind of that question of, how much revenue are we going to be able to derive from the materials stands from not just kind of the commodity price for the materials that they're, the common materials, but also kind of those harder to move materials like PET thermoforms. We also see kind of another opportunity for some of your harder to recycle plastics, for ones that don't have traditional buyers. So for mechanical recycling outlets, that there are kind of advanced recycling opportunities there to be another avenue for recovering that material rather than sending it to landfill. So yeah, I think there's a big opportunity there, and that's one that we can, again, by providing kind of that stable pricing, help with the kind of analysis of, is it when designing a facility, is it kind of beneficial to sort this material, knowing that we have a market for it and that the material has value. So it's absolutely one way that we can help.
Thank you.
Sure.
And you listed a figure of towns of about 50,000 generating close to $1 million in materials and commodities. And of course, that's a very loose approximation, because
Correct.
It depends on the material. It depends on the material prices and the population. Is it reasonable to say that scales down? So if we were to say a population of 25,000 would generate just under 500,000 in commodity value, or is it a lesser amount of value per year because once you get below that 50,000 population marker?
Yeah, so it absolutely scales down. We can pull that data from the EPA. It's publicly available generation data. And then just kind of run current market rates through that generation data. So we can provide that kind of really easily for any town that might be interested in kind of setting up a collection center. But yes, that's a kind of a reasonable expectation to make. And kind of as we have conversations, we can provide kind of more kind of detail there as well.
And my last question would be, how quickly can you go from talking to a municipality to having containers on the ground?
Fantastic question. So for what we see kind of the two biggest aspects in kind of the project are kind of ensuring the kind of city or kind of county approval process. That can be anywhere from kind of 2 to 4 months on the time frame. And then once we have a signed agreement, the biggest barrier is kind of the availability of balers. So typically there's kind of like a 20-week lead time on balers. So that's going to be the biggest hurdle from a time perspective. for existing locations that have a MRF that just want to set up a material purchase agreement, that's something that we can do in a matter of weeks. So that's really easy and streamlined, but is kind of a little bit of a different solution as opposed to setting up their own drop-off location.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Beth, PT?
Not
interesting stuff.
a deeper conversation to come. Thanks.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I have PT's contact information, so I'll shoot you an email and we can kind of find time to talk that makes sense for your schedule.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, Beth and PT. Thank you, Ryan, for this presentation. We will be sharing it out with a few of our other towns and continue the conversation to help make these connections across Colorado.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity this morning, and yeah, I look forward to working closer with towns in Colorado in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Allie.
All right. Have a great day, you guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.